In my last video, I talked about how no one will be able to make another Patapon. And if they do, it's very unlikely it's going to be from someone other than the original developer. And I did research, but I cannot say my coverage is thorough. Some of y'all even recommended some stuff I haven't even touched, and some I haven't even heard. And after the last video, I thought it would be fun to wonder about the existence of games that are like Patapon. I mean, I've been wondering from 2011 for 5 straight years until I gave up. Of course, there is now Ratatan, but I hope this video will be up before April of 2025, so I can say, Dum-dums, check the calendar, if you say there is a Ratatan. Dum-dums, check the calendar. I mentioned some games that are like Patapon, Patapon inspired, etc. in my last video, but I didn't really get into deep. You can say this is a sequel to that video, but I'm trying to rectify that. You can say this is my apology video. So I brought out the ukulele. If you don't know the reference, that's okay, I envy you. There are obviously many ways to classify what kind of game Patapon is. Rhythm game, strategy, call and response, puzzle, action RPG, Souls-like. What kind of dumbass? Oh, right. But really, it's all just a genre, terms to make it easier for us to explain, and for the devs to market the game to the right people. I learned this in a marketing class back then. I hate marketing. It's not like every RPG game will be exactly the same, as that applies to Patapon as well. Like with my last video, I can even argue Dark Souls is a Patapon-like. It's just a way we interpret something to be able to connect more with the stuff that we like. Patapon is a really novel and still novel core idea after a decade that calling it a rhythm game is simply not cutting it. Trust me, I've looked at vanilla rhythm games. And that's what this video is about, really. Counting everything that counts as a Patapon-like. Even the ones that I don't agree with. Rhythm game, strategy game, RTS, maybe Souls-like, or maybe just the fact that they are a video game.
Wow, this Super Mario game really feels like Patapon.
I'm just gonna count everything that comes to mind and try my best to compare them with Patapon in as many perspectives that I could. Now, before we continue, no, I'm not going to slip into something comfortable, but I thought the term Patapon-like was a mouthful. It's hard to pronounce for me who isn't English yet. So I coined the term rhythm time strategy. Oh yeah, I think that's a better term overall. I know I can't humanly name and count each and every variation of the genre, so feel free to write down some games you think can be included, no matter how ridiculous or far-fetched it may sound. Hell, you're watching a guy who said Patapon is a Souls-like. Just make sure to try and explain why you think it's like Patapon, so we won't just say Call of Duty is a rhythm game. We start with the genre that defines Patapon among others. Rhythm strategy. I've said this in my last video, but I think Patapon is a strategy game tied together with rhythms. The agency the game gives you, trusting you with your own choice, is what I miss from a rhythm game. And there is just a game that fits that criteria as well. Thank you to Static and Kara for mentioning this up. Although they weren't talking about Patapon, Pikmin was compared with its upcoming spiritual successor. And it's a good excuse to finally try it out. I had never played Pikmin before this. I was a PlayStation guy, if you couldn't tell. Hearing all the Pikmin memes that it got on Times Square is definitely catching my attention. Pikmin even got the same treatment as Patapon, in that their sequel came out after a decade.
You and I are not so different.
So I sure as hell am excited to play this game. But again, it's closer to Ratatan than Patapon. The army management that you can manage like resources is the one thing that connects them. A strong one thing though. Although the actions of the Pikmin and Patapon differ from one another, such also the gameplay and the use of said resources, the managing act is enough to make me have fun with the game. Instead of you commanding an army a la RTS style, Ratatan and Pikmin both have you control a character that manages or controls the army. But I think that's all the similarities. In Pikmin, army management is about allocating which number doing what while adventuring. In Patapon, and presumably from the gameplay Ratatan, it's more specifically on the combat. Keep in mind that I only played the latest Pikmin and only have an hour in for now. So take this comparison with a grain of salt. I mean, take the whole video with a grain of salt if you will. If I have to say, while they are both strategy games, the objective of the core loop is different. Oh, and there is also no rhythm in Pikmin if you're wondering about that. Now, you might be wondering if that's right to put Pikmin in the strategy section. So for all of you battle-hardened veteran commanders, this section is presented for you. I'm talking about games that let you rule a country, that puts you as a commanding head of the troops, that require you to think. Now that I think about it, that sounds like Pikmin. Pikmin, but with adult skin. I'm talking, of course, your run-of-the-mill strategy games. I'm talking about XCOM, Civ, Into the Breach, Warcraft. And of course, I'm talking without experience. Again, I've said it before, I don't like strategy games that much. Even when I did try, against EasyCom, how did I lose? As you can see, my past experience with Civ did not end well. So I decided to go with XCOM 2. And the reason why I picked this one instead of the others is pretty simple. No, really. I see the gameplay, see management, and thought it would be easy to connect them with Patapon. Yeah, blame me how you want, I'm too lazy to look into it. My first impression was, honestly I had my doubts, but I never thought a strategy game would be this intuitive for me. The tutorial and early stages really just let you in while slowly telling you what to do. Means for someone with no clue like me, I can still feel the fun while not being dumped out on what to do. That's one of the reasons why I didn't like strategy games. I have to read the book just to play the game.
No thanks, bro.
But I suppose the complexity in a game is what I miss from a typical rhythm game. I'm not gonna go too deep now, but the freedom of choice, the agency given to you as a player by strategy games is the reason why I'm still on the case for one. XCOM seems close to being that strategy game for me. Easy enough to understand, complex enough to strategize. You can see English is still a challenge for me. Apart from the army management though, you can already guess, it's an entirely different game from Patapon. Sure, I love thinking, but it's not exactly on the same ballpark. XCOM is turn-based, and in a typical turn-based style, I can just leave the game and my army would still be there after. What this means, I can take all the time in the world to think. It's a simple thing, but that's a huge difference in the way someone thinks. That is why there exists also fast chess apart from normal ones, while Patapon I would say sits in the middle between turn-based and real-time. That is why I think the rhythm is so powerful and game-changing.
Get it?
This one's stupid, silly even. It's like those reviews that keep using the makes you feel like Batman phrase or the Dark Souls of something. No, not me. I mean unironically. I am still talking about the article I showed in my last video. All that gets going for them is being 2D with a silhouette art style. The gameplay? Like getting the wrong food for your order. Some are okay, others, you are allergic to shrimp. And Beast Evolve Skirmish is triggering mine. Put it simply, it's an RPG. Put it unsimply, it's less than that. The core loop is basically this quest where you have a roster of armies.
Oh my gosh, army like Patapon?
No, not like Patapon. The army is this beast, and the gameplay is basically watching them fight the enemy's army. Yeah, watching is the gameplay, with the occasional skill button with cooldowns. But I'm kinda selling it short. The real fun loop is strategizing your army like an RPG would. Watching the two armies fight is just the result of that. Now, this mechanic does resonate with Patapon. If only it's not a brain-dead mobile game. As usual, the game patronizes the players with numbers, quantifying the party's power like Dragon Ball Z. Getting more power is as simple as clicking a button. Although you might need resources for that, the main objective is simply to get higher numbers. Maybe this game is just not for me, but even another game that does the same gameplay loop can involve the players more, i.e. Blue Archive. And perhaps the game will rise to that level in later stages as I have only played it for 10 minutes, so don't take it from me. especially since the game's been going for 6 straight years. But since we're talking about mobile games, there is also auto-playing, stamina, and egregious monetization. Keep that in mind when you wanna try it. The other game that comes to mind, actually, why did I even try with this genre? Researching for this game is as hard as googling up games with silhouette. Oh, look! Patapon! Guess Limbo is a Patapon like that. Thanks, Google. I was on the edge of whether to put this genre alongside the regular rhythm game, but there is something genius going around them that I wanna talk about first. Rhythm Heaven, Rhythm Doctor, thanks Miju for pointing this out. Damn, there is a lot of games I have to play. Again, I never played these games. I took everything I said out of my left pocket. I don't have a pocket. I think I remember Masahiro Sakurai said something about this game design once, about using only one button to play. Anyway, although he promotes the wonder of just using one button, I think as a player and a designer, it's important to tip our hats to those who are crazy enough to even think of making a game with only a single button. Especially when this came out, the least button out of a controller we have is 10. With that out of the way, let's continue to the thing comparable between Rhythm Heaven and Patapon. As was said by Miju, the call and response genre of a rhythm game isn't all bare and bones in the market. This is an interesting take, because it's true. The first rhythm game, according to Wikipedia, is Simon, like Simon Says. And correct me if I'm wrong, but following that route, rhythm games are obviously going to be iterations of that, such as Parappa the Rapper, if anyone remembers that, or maybe even Friday Night Funkin'. And while the idea is still press buttons with timings, it was made almost like a turn-based. It felt less alone and less about perfection, more like following someone else's lead, like an actual dance instead of breaking your finger. Although I wouldn't put Patapon exactly on the call and response, I get where they are coming from. Patapon's rhythm doesn't go continuously, you have to wait after you input an action. Or maybe my understanding of call and response is a little lacking, because typically games like this have the call as the challenger, played by the computer, while the response is the player. Flip that up and we got Patapon. So yeah, take it with a grain of salt. Now, Miju also said something else as well, this time about Osu. I have to restate once again, I have no experience in this game, or in any game at that. Which is why I played every games I've talked about, including this one, before I stopped and realized that I'm bad at these games. After playing it, I would still say I stand by my points. I mean, I wasn't very clear last time, so that's also on me. But I would still say Osu is still your regular run-of-the-mill rhythm games. I said last time that Osu is part of that press button at the right time, and technically Miju is correct. Osu is more than buttons, you have to care for your cursor as well. But again, I'd still say Patapon is even further away from what you'd call a rhythm game. So let me explain what I mean. From what little experience I have with rhythm games, Cytus, Demo, Piano Tiles, and now Osu, the formula has transpired into a higher complexity than pressing buttons. Sometimes you have to mash them, spin the cursors, or maybe the whole screen just straight up turn, I don't know what they be cooking. But the visual cue always ends up telling you what to do at what time. Even Muse Dash, which I also only have 10 minutes in, which tries to gamify the rhythm game formula, is still like that. The core loop is, a visual cue pops up, the players do what is asked, rinse and repeat. Failure in following will result in a lower score, or in the case of Muse Dash, a lower score too. Oh, there is a health going on? I didn't even realize that. Contrary to that, Patapon doesn't have scores in the traditional sense. Even if they do, I don't think I would care for that. Patapon just throws a boss at you and goes,
Come on, baca dulu bang. Defend, retreat, gonna cry, clock sticking boy, almost your turn to sing.
That is what I miss from Patapon. The freedom of choice, the agency to f around and find out. That is why I think strategy is a most vital part of what makes Patapon one of my favorite games. No, it's not because it is, because I'm bad at rhythm games. Playing all these games makes me realize just how bad. Imagine it like a spectrum between games that require thinking and games that require reactions. On one end, you have all the time in the world. You can think 5 million steps ahead based on the challenge that is in front of you. Actually, you need to think. That's the core. Not thinking and you could end up like me, being defeated by my own shadow. On the other end, you have a game where you don't need to think. Or more like, there is not enough time to think. All you need to do is do what is asked at the perfect time. Whether that's pressing buttons, move cursors, or stuff, these games require speed, perfection, ninja samurai reaction time that can split a bullet in half. You might not even need to be conscious to play these games, doing the subconscious fighter trope in an anime. But do not take this as a criticism or something. I do get the fun of reaction games and thinking games alike. My preference is just not when they are over at the other end. I don't like being forced to do something without any agency, but I also don't like a game where I have to think so hard my head could blow up. And that's actually the main reason why I decided to make this video. Count it on me making the conclusion in the middle of the video, am I right, gamers? Actually, that's only half the truth. I do honestly wanna try and look for games like Patapon. I crave them, I need them. This is just me coping with the fact that I need to wait 2 more years before Ratatan came out. Oh, but they got a live gameplay going though. You seen that? Sorry, got too far there. Anyway, Kotani-san also says something that insinuates the differences between Patapon and a normal rhythm game. Here you go.
はい、そうですね。いろいろ好きといえば好きですけど、パラッパラッパーやリズム天国っていうのは本当に大好きなゲームで、通常のリズムゲームは楽器演奏の新しい形態だと思うんです。ですので、与えられた問題に対してできる限り正確に完璧な演奏をするというのが目的だと思います。それに対して、ラタタンというのは演奏するツール自体は与えられるんですけれども、それ以降は本当にプレイヤーの自由で、状況に応じてあれやこれやを選んだり、
I was on the edge of whether to put this genre. Wait a second, we've been here before. I mean, this is basically the same theory as a regular rhythm game, just took my argument from before and put it here. Except I would argue this genre is more fun. I mean, come on, Beat Saber, Just Dance, DDRX, instead of pressing buttons or moving a cursor, you use your whole body. That's like dancing, bruv. Like actual dancing. Are you really gonna tell me dancing ain't fun? It's like sports and sports game. It's definitely more fun playing on the field with friends than sitting on your Gachaya Fight football game. But even without friends, just the act of gaming with your body, again, like rhythm on strategy, will almost change the way someone plays entirely. I mean, that's why the Switch is so popular, bridging the gap between stationary gaming and movement gaming, all in one system. But who am I to say? I've never played these games. Never got a chance. Next ones are gonna be a bunch of different games being stirred together. I am honestly lost at this point. So, the next game is gonna be... Oh, quite surprising. Necrodancer. Yeah, someone reminded me of this one. Thanks, Pitar124. I'm sorry I forgot about this. Even though I already played it before. I don't know, I just got blasted by a neuralizer or something. So yeah, anyway, this blender of a genre is going to be rhythm, ba, ... Which means it's just combining rhythm with another genre. You know, like Patapon. On the surface level, it sounds stupid, but I gotta say, these peeps might be onto something. We start with Crypt of the Necrodancer, a combination of rhythm and action adventure, like Zelda. The old Zelda, the original. Wait, that doesn't make any sense. All Zelda is original. I mean the 2D dungeon crawler, because that's what the Crypt of Necrodancer is, a 2D top-down dungeon crawler, roguelike. To further explain my point of how simple surface level the rhythm is, Necrodancer feels like a game that would work even without the rhythm. No, I'm not joking this time. They even have a character for that. The rhythm is just there in the background to be followed for you to move. Unlike Patapon in which you have to remember the songs, like just imagine a normal game, but every move you have has to be on rhythm, and you cannot skip a beat. For example, imagine chess, rhythm chess. The rule is basically the same as normal chess, except there is a rhythm or a song in the background. Each player moves and has to make a move every beat with the song. Unable to do that means you are missing a turn, which will be given to your opponent. See, game design doesn't need to be hard or complex, just needs to be fun. And that's basically why Necrodancer is also a ton of fun. Like I said before, on a surface level, it sounds stupid. Like, what do you mean by Zelda game but with rhythms? But oh, trust me when I say this, it makes the game a lot harder, a lot better. And if I have to nitpick, I guess I do have trouble with having to divide my focus between moving and thinking every single bit. I don't have the brain power to think that fast. Almost every time I lost because I did something stupid multiple times in a row for something completely avoidable. Also, less gripe, I don't really like roguelikes. This is another genre that I actually think blends well with rhythm. I made a video once about a game that is very short, very fun, Metal Hellsinger. Like Patapon, which is an RPG game with rhythm, Hellsinger is an FPS with rhythm. Another game from the same genre that I can call out is BPM, Bullets Per Minute, though I haven't played it, so I will just cut this one short or save it for later. On paper, both games' ideas are very simple. You have FPS, you have rhythm. Rhythm FPS. I mean, seriously, you got everything out of a movement shooter like Doom, but everything you do that's on beat will just give you a massive boost that it became a necessity. The gameplay is chaotic, so keeping yourself alive with the beat is already challenging enough to get you hooked, if you like seeing fireworks up close. But that's all they have in common. A rhythm system on top of an already established style of genre. Both of them do a pretty good job though. Hellsinger is stupidly fun if you're a neurodivergent like me. Or if you play Ultra Kill. I'm sorry, I said the same thing twice. It was short, but the challenge was great. You try to tackle arena to arena as the enemies get progressively harder and more chaotic. I cannot recommend this enough, especially if you love metal. If you don't, there is a mod that turns the game into Jazz Hellsinger. Finally we can talk about another game I mentioned in my last vid. Jungle Rumble is also one of these gimmicky genres. It plays like a normal mobile puzzle game. Imagine a normal puzzle game, but you have to do it on rhythm. You tackle each level that gets progressively harder, like a puzzle game. The main objective is to collect bananas with the given resources at each level while evading or destroying the enemy. When you want to do an action, you have to do it following the rhythm in the background. Although you have to think and although you're on the rhythm, I don't really think they managed to combine the two quite nicely. The rhythm only plays a part when you want to move. They don't give a boost to the challenge. This makes the thinking part quite the usual, like a normal puzzle game. When you're done thinking, you just follow the rhythm with a strategy you already have in mind. They don't reciprocate you for doing things off or slow, except for, again, scores. This one's relatively obvious. It's in the same genre as Patapon 1-to-1, or it's just straight up inspired by it, a fan made of it, etc. Since they are still in development, I won't go into much detail. Although it's been a decade since we got a Patapon game, it seems replicating it is not going to be an easy task. The game I'm talking about, of course, is Pata 4 and Pata Next. Thank you Forta for reminding me of this one. These games are made by the fans for fun. Pretty sure they won't and can't monetize it, even if they want to. It's being cared for by the community for the community. Purely made to give tribute to Patapon. That is why the gameplay is obviously going to be the same. What will change, more or less, is probably the bosses, challenges, minigames, areas, songs, you know, the stuff, but not the gameplay loop, no sir. That's like the foundation, the framework for everything to work, from Patapon 1, 2, and 3. So they kinda have to respect that design and only build on top of it. Not a bad thing though. I've played Pata 4 and it has applied all the basics to the game. They nailed almost everything. All that is needed, at least from what I can see, from what little time I have touching it, is to polish them a bit more. Another that comes to mind is an old one, made in your same old Flash. As in, Flash games, browser games. The game's called Bongo Boom Battlegrounds by Nerduk and was made exactly out of inspiration for Patapon. But it's still so far away from the finished product of Patapon. It's even far comparing it to Pata 4. While the main core is still there, you know, moving your army with a 4-beat song done on rhythm, everything else is bare bones. How the army itself interacts, the combo, the monotone background music, the game outside the core, like world map, level designs, and mini games. It's done the bare bones, which is honestly still pretty insane. I still have no idea how people program that. But there is a lot of polish to do, if it were to, at least, be on par with its inspiration. Not a one-to-one, mind you. I was talking in terms of quality. But to be fair, it is a Flash game. It's probably created by someone on their lunch break. It's not even meant to be a full-fledged published game. And as I have said before, the bare minimum, the main core of the Patapon, the moving your army by inputting 4-bit system, is already an insanely amazing work to be done. And looking at the developer again, now they seem to be actually in the industry deeper than then. I can only offer my full respect for that kind of grind. But before we continue further on, there is one other game that was brought up by Sun Psycho. I would not know about this game at all if not for them. Not only do I not have a Vita, but the game itself is also very obscure. According to the game's own explanation, music X strategy. Unique concept of combining the strategic elements of a real-time strategy game with the speed and excitement of a rhythm game. Wow, that sounds extremely familiar. I swear to God, I did not plagiarize anything. And besides, are they really combining RTS with a rhythm game? And is it as good as Patapon? Let's find out after this one. Yeah, I don't think there is another one after this one. That and I don't have a Vita. No, I'm not gonna pick up one, especially for a game scored this low. Looking at the gameplay on YouTube alone feels like there is something lacking. I can't say much since I don't hold the steering wheel, but it feels slower and like a regular rhythm game. You know, buttons pop up on screen, hey, go ahead and press it, and you press it. I honestly don't know. The comment section says it's like Pikmin, some say it has rock, paper, scissors. I can't really say much because I haven't played it. How someone explains it and how it feels in your hand can be much different. That's why for most of these games on the list, I've at least played even for a brief moment just to get the feeling. Some games have great ideas, bad execution, some the other way around. And if you were watching this far, I wish you would also try some for yourself instead of taking my words at face value. One thing I know though, it's slow. The music seems like it just sits in the background. That's one thing I haven't mentioned and no one else seemed to remember about Patapon. Dynamic soundtrack. If there is one person who does remember, you guess it, it's Mr. Kotani.
ミュージカルみたいなものを作り出すようなゲームにしていきたいと思っております。
Maybe the phrase dynamic soundtrack doesn't really do creating your own song any justice, but for the sake of simplicity, let's take it as one. As creating these songs as commands for the battle is significant in Patapon/Ratatan, it's not merely commanding your army through a rhythm. They are a bit far more complex than the rhythm but genre. Quite the opposite of Orgarhythm from the looks of it. But to be fair, or I guess I'm detracting from the topic, Patapon didn't just came out like that. They didn't just come out with a peak rhythm but design with open-ended freedom. I've been talking all this time about games that only apply rhythm on the surface level or games that try to make things more fun only to steal the agency of choice from the player. Patapon was like that too, you know. Before the release version, the game was made for 2 years. I'll just prototyping what kind of system runs best. And from some screenshots that were shared, Patapon used to be like these games. It used to be a call and response. It used to tell the players what to do, what to press. A normal rhythm game with a better visual detracting from the player's input. I wouldn't have played Patapon or even liked it at all if it ended up like this. I can't even imagine a life without Patapon. And after they found out the perfect system, they only spent 3 months to finish the whole game. That should be a telltale of where their focus resides. They spent 2 years just for the core mechanics. Typically, that time would be spent in the levels or the polish, the one beyond the core. or at least it will take the same amount of time, 2 years for the core, 2 years for making the whole game. This is why a lot of these games' rhythm application felt either lackluster or surface level. It's not easy implementing a great rhythm system, let alone creating a new one. Patapon took so long in the cooker that the dish came out like a gourmet. No game dev is viable enough to do that. No one except the legend that we know of. I said this one in my previous video, I stand by my point exactly, even though I was half joking. Despite being an action RPG, Dark Souls has definitely nailed down that edge of having the players have enough agency to act, but also narrowing down the breathing gap by making the combat this sort of dance with turns as well. And to be honest, I think Dark Souls will work as a rhythm butt genre, combining what seemed to be a regular ARPG with a rhythm game in the background. Of course, now it only applies to the combat, especially the bosses, but even that already has a strong sense of rhythm. Not just in Sekiro, but the whole Soulsborne titles have tight-knit combat where the player has to put themselves into the enemy's rhythm, if you will, their moveset. They have these gaps after each attack that give a brief window for the players to do an action. And the great thing about these games, and why I still love the genre, is that they don't take the player's agency. They don't hold the player's hands. They just leave the gaps between each attack there and let the player choose what they want to do. They want the players to create their own moveset, their own dance, not too dissimilar to Patapon. Like I said, there is a lot that I miss, even intentionally. Not because I don't want to include them, but it's not even possible to fit all of them in one video. Not to mention, lots of these games I haven't played before, so trying to find them all is a bit of a mess. That's why, as I've said before, feel free to recommend some stuff. I don't know if I'll do this again, but at least I'll still have a list of fun games to try. And if I do try to do this kind of stuff again, I'm probably going to stick with pseudo reviews of each games instead of clogging them up in genres. And if I don't, I'm probably just gonna wait until Ratatouille. With that out of the way, I do hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you got a new game recommendation out of this. Try them out for yourself. I will also continue some of these games that I haven't finished before. Smash like, subscribe, I'll see you later.